This is a 2024 Kia Sorento SX-Prestige X-Pro, a new trim for the updated Kia midsize SUV that has a more rugged look and some off-roading equipment to go along with it. Like what, you say? Well, it has all the stuff that the X line offers, so a center locking differential, different front and rear bumpers, and a different roof rack. But you also get increased towing capacity and 17-inch wheels and tires, and those tires are BF Goodrich all-terrain. As I said, this is an updated Kia Sorento, so we are still riding on the 4th generation platform that's been with us since the 2021 model year, and truthfully, that's not a bad thing. This is a great foundation to start with. And Kia said this new updated trim should be here first quarter of 2024, so basically now. Going with an X-Pro is actually one of several trims you can get with the Kia Sorento, starting with the LX, then the S, then the EX, then the SX, and the SX Prestige. X-Line versions of the Kia Sorento are available on EX and up trims, but if you want to go X-Pro, you have to start with an SX Prestige. So that means the most off-road capable Kia Sorento you can get is also its most luxurious. Now, regular viewers of my channel will be able to tell right away that I am not on my usual roads. I am not in my usual state. I'm actually a guest of Kia in Colorado outside of Denver, and I'm not alone. I'm actually with a good friend of mine. His name is John Snyder. He is the senior editor at Autoblog and just a great dude. Hey, John.
Hey, thank you. You're very kind.
John's actually already driven this car a little bit, so I'm going to ask his opinion as we go. So, how does going X-Pro change the feel of this otherwise really well-equipped Kia? Let's find out. I review all kinds of cars, and I have fun every time. Please subscribe and join me. The base price for a 2024 Kia Sorento LX with front-wheel drive is $33,365. Jumping to the top of the line SX Prestige Sorento raises that price to $47,765. And this very tippy top of the top of the line SX Prestige X Pro costs $48,765. And actually, my test car did have a couple of options. I will put them up on the screen right now for you to check out. It just scrapes under 50 grand for this SUV. All right, with that, now seems like a good time to pull over and show you around and inside this car in a bit more detail. Looking at the front of the car, you can see that it's definitely got a more off-road friendly, more boxy, more rugged shape. You can also definitely see cues of the Kia Telluride. I do quite like the pattern baked into the grille here, and I like that it's an interesting gloss black. And it's not massive, it's still a reasonable size, and it's got these interesting accents, this finished metal piece at the bottom, but then more black at the top, and then the headlights go quite a ways. We've got these running beams that go all the way across, and then vertically stacked headlights, just like the Telluride right there. But even with all the improved styling, I still want to know more about what's under the hood. Well, there you have it, a turbocharged 2.5-liter inline-4 mounted transversely or side to side like that. This is an inherently front-wheel drive car-based crossover SUV, and several trims of Kia Sorento are offered in front-wheel drive versions, but the SX Prestige is all-wheel drive only. And finally, windshield washer fluid's real easy to get at right here. Looking at the car in profile, this gives you a better chance to look at the Road Runner brown paint. It's very much an earth tone kind of color, and we are looking at the passenger side because that's where the sun is. The base wheel on a Kia Sorento is also a 17, but it's not this black 17-inch wheel right here, and you can get up to 20s on the Sorento. But this is a special black 17-inch that gives you these nice fat sidewalls and these BF Goodrich all-terrain tires. This is 65 series rubber, helps soften up the ride and all the little imperfections of the road without any trouble. Looking at the car from the back, one of the styling updates is we now have these vertical tail lights right here, and it's an interesting like upside down U shape that I find really interesting. This hunk of bodywork being right there, and then just a nice tastefully sized X-Pro logo right there. Now we do have these more rugged looking bumpers, and you know, they look fine. Right now, the third row seats are folded down, which means that we have, depending on the trim Sorento you get, between 39 and 45 cubic feet of cargo behind the second row. You have these nice straps to pull the third row back up without any trouble. Headrests pull up like that. Putting the third row back down is easy. You just take these straps, pull on them, and let the seat down like that. And with the third row up, I should have mentioned before I put them down, you get 13 cubic feet of storage. A couple quick presses of those buttons, and now you have 76 cubic feet of cargo space and room for you and a passenger. And that's what it looks like with the seats folded all the way down. This is a 3-row SUV, and because we have the captain's chair second row, it is a 6-passenger vehicle, 222, and we also have this lovely little button on the captain's chairs to get easy access to the third row. The back door does swing out quite wide, so you have nice wide entry into the seat. You also have plenty of adjustment built into the seat. I have plenty of legroom, plenty of knee room, a good 6 to 8 inches. I am 5 feet 11 inches tall, or 181 centimeters, and I feel very comfortable. The seat bottoms are nice and high, so I have good thigh support. I do have headroom, even though we have a panoramic moonroof, and I also have a much less than 90-degree bend in my knees. And check this out. Look at all the stuff we have back here. So this is an SX Prestige trim, which means we've got sunshades, heated seats, cup holders, nice armrest baked into the door right here, second armrest built into the seat right here, and it is adjustable. You can hear the ratcheting of it. AC power right here, 12-volt accessory power right here. Still not done. Each front seat also has a built-in USB Type-C port built into the back of that. The first row is even better. Okay, so technically this interior is black, but this particular Kia Sorento does have the $295 optional olive brown leather package. So that means we have this more tan colored leather seating and a lot of different leather trim pieces here and on the door as well. And that makes a huge difference for it to be two-tone. We do have the typical controls on the door, including 2-position seat memory right there. We also have 14-way adjustable driver seat right here. The passenger seat is also powered, but it is 10-way powered. The seat itself offers good support and good comfort and has good upper bolsters right here and pretty decent lower bolsters as well. Base Sorrentos get a 4.3-inch small screen in the center of analog gauges, but in the higher trims you get a fully digital 12.3-inch instrument cluster screen right there, and immediately next to that, the standard 12.3-inch center console touchscreen. Push button start is right here, and there is your instrument cluster and your center console touchscreen lit up. We also have a nice thick rim for the steering wheel and several controls on it. Lots of media controls to the left and cruise control options to the right. Standard equipment for the 12.3-inch center console touchscreen is wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. For most trims, you also get a dual zone climate control system, but not the base LX trim. This being a top trim, we also have a wireless smartphone charger right there, 2 more USB ports right there, heated and ventilated seats for both front passengers, and 2 cup holders and a nice storage space right there. We've also got a heated steering wheel, an electric park brake, hill descent control, and this style right here gives us options to our many different drive modes. Looking up, we do have a couple of buttons for lights and things like that, as well as electric control to the privacy panel of the panoramic roof. It's all very lovely. We also have a digital rear view mirrors that doubles as a screen to show you the camera system right here. We're in Colorado. There is still a lot of snow. Let's talk drive modes. We have several drive modes right here. We've got Smart, Sport, Eco, Normal, and Snow. Also, push this button here to lock the center diff. You get this screen right here. And if you prefer, you can see your different drive modes right here as well. For a big chunk of this video, we will be spending our time in the normal drive mode. I do have a quick moment in Sport and we're going to play a bit with his snow mode as well. But to do all that, we have to get back to the drive. So let's get back to the drive. And if you'd like to see more detail of the exterior and interior of this updated 2024 Kia Sorento, I do have another video that goes into more detail that is in the description and should also pop up right there. All right, now let's get back to the drive. All right, let's dig into the powertrain. What powers this X-Pro Kia Sorento? Well, in this line of Kia Sorento, you get a turbocharged 2.5 liter inline 4 that makes 281 horsepower and a very healthy 311 pound-feet of torque. This is actually the engine for all Sorento trims EX and higher. LX and S trimmed Sorentos get a 2.5 liter inline 4 as well, but it's naturally aspirated and makes 191 horsepower and 181 pound-feet of torque. Yeah, big difference. It also gets a different transmission. You get an 8-speed automatic transmission instead of the turbocharged engines, which get an 8-speed dual clutch transmission, which that was genuinely surprising to see. Most trims also come in either front or all-wheel drive, but the SX-Prestige Kia Sorento is all-wheel drive as standard. And with the turbocharged engine, I have to say, I feel like I've got a healthy amount of power. But there's a big caveat to that. We started in Denver and we've been climbing up in terms of elevation since then. So we are in much thinner air as far as engine power is concerned, and we're going uphill as we speak. So keep all that in mind when I floor the throttle. And really, considering everything I just said, it's really not bad. We're still getting decent pull, and the transmission was quick to get us in a lower gear, so we got higher revs to work with. Yeah, that's pretty healthy acceleration, even considering we're well above a mile above sea level and going uphill as I do the test. Now, if I put it in the sport driving mode and floor it again, yeah, you know, it was a little bit more anxious to do the kickdown. The kickdown was just the tiniest bit faster, but you know, the acceleration is about the same. If I was in Michigan and I floored the accelerator, I imagine I would actually get pretty darn healthy pull. I have a feeling this is not a super large 3-row SUV. It's pretty small when it comes to 3-row SUVs. In fact, I think even the naturally aspirated 2.5 liter would be able to keep up. So this would feel quite good. And the fact that Kia went with a dual clutch transmission instead of an automatic is really nice because we get those really healthy kickdowns, nice fast response from the transmission, and you feel that even when you're way up in altitude. So John, you drove it in slightly lower elevations. How did the engine feel to you?
Pretty good. You know, it's, having the forced induction always helps, you know, in the thinner air.
Absolutely. Yeah, that mitigates the feeling of like wheeziness from the engine for sure.
Absolutely. And yeah, the transmission too, pretty quick to respond, pretty smooth as well. And yeah, as far as I'm concerned, yeah, good car for the mountains.
Yeah, I think that's a good point you make, that it is still a very smooth operating transmission. I didn't get any of that lurchiness from a standstill that you sometimes get with those. You know, is it as smooth as a torque converter automatic? No, but it's not far from it, really, at least in our limited driving so far.
Yeah.
And, you know, you actually do get pretty decent fuel economy considering the horsepower numbers that I just gave you. You get 20 miles to the gallon in the city, 27 miles to the gallon on the highway, 23 combined. That is the worst fuel economy you're going to get in a Kia Sorento. There's actually a wide range of fuel economies. If you get the naturally aspirated front-wheel drive Kia Sorento, that does much better for fuel economy. But, you know, it's, I would say, reasonable considering the size of this, considering the tires that this has, and the power that you have. Would you agree with that?
I would, sir.
Look at that. Look at us agreeing.
For once.
Because of everything I just said and where we are, I don't think I'm going to have time for an acceleration test. But if I ever find a spot to do an acceleration test, I will definitely get the cameras on and film that for you and let you know how it feels. Although, it will be at least a mile above sea level. a minor miracle has occurred and I found a relatively straight and flat piece of pavement. We are still well above sea level, but we are also in the sport mode and I do have traction control off. So let's see how this feels way up high. Okay, coming to a complete stop, hard on the gas. Bit of a soft launch, but there we go. Not bad. Quick shifts. I mean, considering how high above sea level we are, that's pretty healthy. You got to give this thing respect for that.
Yeah, once the turbo got spinning, it was good to go.
Now, I tried brake torquing, and that didn't do anything. It didn't like that, so it kind of just slowly got it going. So you saw I did just floor the accelerator, and it's a pretty mild launch. If there's any kind of launch control or aggressive launch setting on the Sorento, I don't know it. If I learn it, I will definitely get my hands on another one as soon as possible and try that. But considering all those things, I'm actually pretty impressed.
Yeah, not bad.
Now, I mentioned that the X-Pro can tow more than any other Kia Sorento. That means that it can tow 4,000 pounds. However, there's a big caveat to that. It can tow 4,000 pounds if the trailer has trailer brakes. If your trailer does not have trailer brakes, Kia says limit towing capacity to 1,654 pounds. That might seem like a kind of weird number. That's 750 kilograms. And that is a pretty light load, even for a smaller SUV. The second you have trailer brakes, even if you have a front wheel drive Kia Sorento, they up that number to 2,000 pounds. And if you get one of the trims with the turbocharged 2.5 liter instead of the naturally aspirated 2.5 liter, that number goes up to 3,500 pounds. That is definitely a small utility trailer or a couple of jet skis, some motocross bikes, snowmobile, that kind of thing. All right, John, let's dig into the chassis. This is, as I said, a carryover of the 4th generation Kia Sorento. That is a perfectly solid foundation to start with. And it's an independent suspension, struts up front, multi-link suspension in the back, and so far on this trip we've been on, it's been a perfectly smooth ride.
It has, and even in the X-Pro with the all-terrain tires, the Telluride, it can sort of suffer its ride quality a little bit, but this has been quite smooth. Yeah,
I've been impressed with road noise on the interstate and tire noise generally, and the smoothness of everything has been pretty darn pleasant considering this is a BF Goodrich all-terrain tire. We're not seeing a fuel economy penalty to go X-Pro, and that's rare too. Usually all-terrain tires hurt fuel economy a little bit because their rolling resistance is a little bit higher. But yeah, it's been rolling down the road smoothly, and that's despite having that pretty darn aggressive tread at the very least.
Yeah, and we can have an easy conversation. We're not, listening to the tires. That's not the soundtrack that we hear.
It's definitely right. And a lot of your driving was actually on the interstate, and we're not going to get a chance to go back to the interstate right now, but we can definitely tell you how it felt. And from the passenger seat, for me, just as you were saying, it was easy to hold a conversation. The ride was smooth, but the body was still well controlled, and it was a perfectly pleasant driving experience.
Yeah, and even now as we're going through these tight corners, our luggage isn't flying around all over the back of the car as much as I'd expect it to be.
What do you think of these seats? This is the only trim that gets like perforated real leather seats, and we have the most power adjustment in the seats, 4-way lumbar support and that kind of stuff. Are you finding the seats comfortable?
They are comfortable and they're attractive. I like the look of this leather, and most importantly, we've got heating and ventilation. Yep. I love ventilated seats.
Yeah,
guilty pleasure.
We're both Michigan boys, an adopted Michigan boy at the very least for John, and heat will bother us more than cool, generally speaking, right?
Especially those sticky, sweaty, humid summers.
Exactly right. And the dual 12.3-inch screens we have here for the digital instrument cluster and the center console touchscreen, they've been easy to read and use. We've got this nice navigation system that's been easy to follow. I mean, this is 50 grand, so you're definitely paying for all these amenities, but it is also a lot of amenities.
Yeah, I mean, basically any Kia you get into, you especially in the higher trims, you get a lot of value for your money. You get tons of content, and yeah, the infotainment and the digital gauge cluster, they work well. They're easy to use. They're attractive. I'm glad to see this format make it into more and more of their vehicles.
Kia really wants to show the off-roading prowess of the Sorento when it has the 17-inch wheels and all-terrain tires. So we get a chance to do some off-roading. And of course I had the cameras on for that. Let me show you that. As promised, we are off-road in the brand new for 2024 Kia Sorento X-Pro. But it's not as far off-road as I expected, or as you expected, John. We're on dirt roads that are fine. And there's a little bit of snow here and there, but this is Colorado, and there was, I think, an expectation of a lot of snow and some things to contend with. But what we've got is a pretty smooth, even dirt road, and it's handling it just fine. I mean, we have driven through a few chunks of snow here and there. Ironically enough, there were some more hazardous bits on the roads to get here, and the all-terrain tires did handle that pretty well. Now, this does not go as far as a fully dedicated winter tire would in terms of grip in cold weather, but it's definitely a step closer than your standard all-season tire. So in that sense, it's behaving just fine. And the Sorento on these roads that have been lumpy at times and pockmarked at times, it handles all of that with composure, and it's comfortable, but this is not straining in terms of any off-roading. You know, we're not maximizing the 8.2 inches of ground clearance we have, as an example. John, is there anything you would add to that?
I mean, like you said, it's really composed. It's really comfortable. You can't even really tell that it's a dirt road. You know, it just soaks it up. It's fine. I'm sure it's capable of much more. Like, yes. I would not hesitate to take this on some of the trails in northern Michigan, some of the old logging trails and stuff. Yep. Where I've gotten stuck in other vehicles. This would be cake for it.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think that's a fair point. This level is giving us confidence that it could handle a lot more. So, yeah, there you go. Off-roading, air quotes, in a Kia Sorento X-Pro. So, John, what do you think of this Kia so far, this updated Kia Sorento?
It's a good vehicle. I mean, one of my first drives as a car journalist was a couple generations ago of Sorento, back when it was real frumpy. And so this is, you know, it's come such a long way. It's actually an attractive vehicle now. It feels, you know, really high quality, you know, almost borderline luxury in this higher trim.
Yeah, yep.
But yeah, quite a great car. I've driven, you know, this generation before the update quite a bit, and really found it to be a lovely car. I would consider it as a possible vehicle for my own family.
Well, there you go. Yeah, and I think it is a pretty smart layout in terms of, if you go 3 rows, you're definitely pinching cargo space, but drop the 3 rows, it's comfortable first and second rows, and then it's a pretty healthy amount of cargo space, and then you have the flexibility to take more people in a pinch. I respect that, and I agree with you that the foundation of this 4th generation Sorento is really strong. I mean, refined, quiet, strong chassis that feels solid underneath you. They did a good compromise for the chassis. You know, if you can get the higher trim, you've got plenty of power to work with, even when you're going up in the mountains. And critically, this X-Pro version of the SX Prestige version of the Sorento still behaves really nice on the road.
It does.
Yeah. So if you have the money in your budget and you don't want to give up any luxury, but you're, I don't know, off-road curious, this Kia Sorento has a lot of strengths. I'm Robin Warner. Thank you very much for watching. And if you like this video, please let me know by giving it a thumbs up. Doing so helps me out a lot, and I'd really appreciate it. Also, I do reviews like this all the time, not to mention auto shows and car news and different engineering interviews, all kinds of things. So if you have any interest in keeping up with the auto industry in general, please subscribe to my channel. That also helps me out a lot, and I'd also really appreciate that. If you want to check out another vehicle that gets into this off-roading field in the same kind of way, you should check out the also updated Honda Passport Trail Sport. Or maybe you're interested in something else entirely. Well, like I said, I have reviewed a lot by now. Something will pop up next to me. Maybe that is something you're interested in, and if you do end up watching it, I definitely hope you like it. Okay, that's it for now. Thank you for hearing my views on vehicles. And thank you, John.
You're welcome.
You're the best passenger ever, John.
Glad to be your support guy.
Hey!